Um, all right, let's go to the classroom. I have some things to share with you over there. One of the things is that I started organizing it a little bit more. I started thinking about what would be helpful to you guys. I know it's probably every teacher doing their own thing, so I feel like most people probably go to that grid page with all of the classes, right? Like when you have asynchronous time, am I right that you kind of go here and see, okay, what's due today, what's due tomorrow, what do I have to work on? Use this to kind of prioritize your time. Unless you're in a dual class, the dual classes, I know in my dual class we're required to use Blackboard, but I think for the most part, this is the hub for most people. So what I started doing on our class is I did a few things to facilitate that. One is that I made this link, this post, and you can't really pin anything in Google Classroom, but I'm going to keep it at the top. So this has all of the 4 major things that you're going to be using a lot. So it will just always be right there in this on the stream page at the top. And it's got the class time link for Zoom. It's got the formative, which we'll use every A day. And it's got this one right here is a link to the playlist that I'm making for our class. Whenever we do a synchronous class period, it's recorded and I'm putting it in a playlist. The playlist is, what do they call it? It's not published. It's like only for us. So if you ever miss a class or you need to go back and look at directions again from when I went over them in the class period, you can always go to this link right here, and all of our class period videos are in there. And then this one is the weekly plan. So let's click on that one. And this is the guide for this week. There's some more links over here, which are pretty much the same links, but I'm just trying to put them everywhere so that you don't have to go searching around. I know I spent a lot of time this summer in trainings and it wasn't always user-friendly like that. So I'm trying to make it easy for you to find what you're looking for. So we'll go through this agenda. This is for our class meeting, and then these are the things for next week, or the next, until Monday. We have our next class meeting on Monday, and then I'll go through those. We do have a little group assignment that I wanted us to get started on today, and that should take us through the class. So let's start with last week's assignments. So I just want to make sure that everybody's up to speed with the things that you should have been doing over the last week, well, like 8 days, right? 9 days, because our last class was on Monday last week. So you should have had a chance to look at the syllabus. I made a video that walked you through the syllabus so that you could get some, feedback in like what I would normally do in class talking about the syllabus. So I'm hoping that you read through that. Are there any outstanding questions? Is there anything that you noticed in the syllabus that you want me to talk about a little bit or, expand on for you?
Yes, could you go over the grading policy again, please?
Yeah,
That
sure.
kind of, tripped me out.
Yeah, okay. So the grading policy is here on the second page. I do take late assignments, but I take points off for them because I don't think it's fair to the other students who turn their work in on time. So, if something happens and you don't get an assignment in, get it in as soon as possible because those late points are going to accumulate. Anything after it's due is late. So even when we're back face to face, if I call for it in class and you bring it to me at the end of the day, that's still late to me. There's also a statement here about absence not being an excuse for not having an assignment turned in. If you think that you're going to have an issue with turning an assignment in on time, if there's a family emergency, just communicate with me. That's your best bet. But in face-to-face class, sometimes people, don't show up on test day. They're out that day, and that's not an excuse for turning in something like a project or a paper or something that's due. Most of our stuff is online, so whether you're in synchronous class or not, you should still make your deadlines. There's a few things that really only apply when we're face to face. So I tried to make the syllabus reflect both situations, but I'm going to follow the school district's grading policies. So they have this scale, which you're familiar with, that is different in dual classes, but this is not a dual class. So I'm just going to follow that main element. I do post grades regularly. There are already grades in the grade book for you from the summer assignment and yeah, from the summer assignment. And then I'm working on right now assignment number 1 that you turned in yesterday for chapter 1. So I've already started working through that. The semester grades for this class are given extra bonus for GPA for rank. I'm sure you already know that. So it's important that you check your grades and your progress often. I would say once a week, get into that portal and just double check your grades. You could have a 0 because lots of times people upload an assignment to Google Classroom, but they don't hit submit or turn it in or whatever the button says. And it's there, but it's not really submitted. It's sort of like, I don't know, hanging in the air in the cloud or something. So make sure that you submit that all the way. And check your grades. If there's a 0 but you thought you turned it in, communicate with me and let me know what's going on so that either it's an error on my part or you thought you turned it in and you didn't. But it's better than just letting it hang on. I'm a lot more agreeable with things like that if we catch it quickly than if you wait a month and say, oh, how come I have a 0 for that thing from 4 weeks ago? You should have been checking your grades basically. So just, try your best to keep up with the portal and double check what I'm putting in there. I'm pretty good with keeping up with grades. I know some students have trouble with, I don't want to disparage my colleagues, but there are some teachers who put everything in at the end. I'm not one of those people. So, double check it and just let me know if there's a discrepancy. I'm also using the school district's weighting, which is here. So they have this situation where minor assessments, things like quizzes and essays, things that we do in class homework, group discussions, things like that, all go in the minor assessments for 60% of the grade. And then the major things like projects and papers and exams count as 40% for the 6 weeks. So I think it's pretty standard. Maybe what's not standard is the 10 points off for assignment. That's just because it's an advanced class. I know that we're going through material quickly, but you have to be able to turn your things on time so that we can, move to the next material. And, that's why I'm trying to organize Google Classroom for you a little bit with those due dates on the grid so that you can see what's coming up. Does that help you? Is that good?
Yeah, that answered my question. Thank you.
Okay, good. Is there anything else from the syllabus that you want me to go over, anybody? You can just unmute and ask me. We did spend some time talking on Monday about when we return back to school. I know that's not in the syllabus, but do you want me to talk about that? I don't think they talk to you guys about stuff like that. I think we have conversations and then we forget to tell the students. So let me tell you that they're still trying to decide if they're going to extend 4 more weeks to the end of October. 2 school districts have already done that in the Valley. They've already petitioned and received 4 more weeks, and that's McAllen and Mission. So some people think, even though it's just speculation, that means the majority of the school districts in the Valley will probably do the same thing. Every time I go to a meeting, it's sort of like, well, if we go back at the end of September. So I feel like it's still very much up in the air. When we do go back, it will be a hybrid schedule. And you're going to hear people say that a lot. So maybe I should talk a little bit about what that is. Do you want me to? Yeah, okay. So I'm seeing nods in the windows over there. That's why it's important to have your camera on, because I can see, oh, okay, yeah, talk about that. So the hybrid schedule is going to be basically the same thing that we have right now, except that if you choose the hybrid choice, you can still stay at home if you want to. You can still stay on virtual 100% for the rest of the year if you want to. But by 6 weeks, you can also choose to come to campus in a hybrid situation, which would be twice a week. So that means you would come, it's the same schedule. They're not going to change it to the schedule we had before all this mess. It's going to be the same schedule. So shortened day. The teachers will be on campus when we go back to hybrid. So if you do hybrid, you'll actually be in the classroom with your teachers, and you'll receive your instruction, you know, face to face in that environment, and then have asynchronous time in the week. So really the only difference is, instead of doing Zoom calls for your synchronous time, you'll be face to face on campus for your synchronous time. If you choose virtual, it will still be a lot like this. So you have that option by 6 weeks, you and your family, to make the decision of whether you want to switch to hybrid once they open it up for that option, or you can choose to stay on virtual, or you can, at the 6 weeks, you can switch from one to the other. So say you go to hybrid and that's not working for you and your family, the next 6 weeks you can switch back to virtual if you want to. And what I'm hearing right now is that they're going to let that go for the whole year. Sadly, I'm not hearing anybody say when we go back to a regular schedule. I'm just not even hearing that conversation yet. That's so far on the horizon that nobody's even talking about that right now. I'm hoping that it's second semester, but I don't know. Especially for the seniors, I feel like it'd be good if we could get back to some normalcy, but right now they're just talking about moving from virtual to hybrid as a kind of step. Are there any questions about that I can answer for you? I feel like we don't always express everything, you know, and talk about it with you guys. Maybe teachers do, I don't know. But I feel like we're just trying to figure everything out, and then nobody ever tells you guys.
So if you go back, are you still going to be doing Zoom meetings even though you're in the classroom, or are they going to actually be teaching you like if it were a regular school day?
Right, so what I'm thinking, they haven't really been super specific on that, but I'm thinking the easiest thing, and what I'll probably do, is I will probably have the class period just like I would normally teach class, and we'll be Zooming it in a way like from the side of the classroom or whatever. So if you're at home, you can watch class, if that makes sense, with the students that are there. So whoever's there in person, it's like a regular class, and if you're at home, then you can watch that live happening in class and participate by, you know, sort of viewing class at that time. I don't see the point of making a whole other video time for those students that are at home, because I feel like that's just going to be almost impossible to do for 6 classes and keep up with all of that. So I'm thinking that it will just be that the people on campus, the advantage that they'll have is more hands-on time. Well, not, I shouldn't say hands-on because of COVID, but, you know, like with sanitizer, like the situation where you can ask questions and it's more face-to-face is what I mean. So there'll be more of an opportunity for you to, you know, be in the school environment with teachers in that situation. That's a good question.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Anything else about just the situation with the hybrid and all of that? I wish I could say for sure that certain things are happening, but we're all living with those question marks right now. So the best I can do is, if you have a question, you can, you know, contact me. If I don't know the answer, then I will try to find out and get back to you, or save your question for the next synchronous meeting on Monday, and I'll ask you again, is there anything that you're wondering about? Or this morning they were asking me about elementary schools and how they're going to be, you know, doing hybrid or whatever. So I didn't really know the answer to that. So I'm in the process of finding that out, I guess, for younger siblings. But yeah, I think there should be good, transparent communication so that you all know at least what we know. There is going to be a survey. You should keep an eye out for that. They did a survey in July. I don't know if any of you participated in that survey, but they did a survey in July where they were asking what percentage of the students would prefer to have face-to-face or hybrid or virtual 100%. And they're going to circulate another survey like that, I think next week, in the next week and a half or so. And what they're trying to get a handle on is how many, if they do open it, or when they do open it up for hybrid, about how many students are going to be coming, because they don't want to have a saturation of too many students on any one given day. they're going to have to kind of separate that out just for proximity issues. So there's going to be another survey in the next week and a half. So keep an eye out for that so that you can, it's like voting, keep your voice known on that topic. They were saying that on the first survey, about 30 to 40% of the families and students wanted hybrid. So they're kind of going on those numbers. I personally think that maybe those numbers have shifted now that we've started virtual. Maybe some people said, oh, virtual is okay, I can manage with that and it's safer. Maybe other people said, oh, I still want to stick with that. So they're going to do another survey, and I think they're going to use that to help make some decisions in the next couple weeks. So. All right. If there isn't anything else on general topics, then we can continue over here. But, you know, I'm glad to help you out with any of those questions that you have as we go through. So besides the syllabus, another thing that you should have been working on last week was formatives. You should have done 3 formatives. And why don't you click right now on the formative link over here. There is one for today. Today is the only one we have this week because Friday is a B day. But you'll notice if you go to formative that I have been grading them. So formative is not just for attendance. I'm asking you some serious, thought-provoking questions about our material. So it's going to count for a grade 2. So you'll see that I'm giving feedback on your statements and your answers to the formative questions. And I'm also scoring it on a 5-point scale for each formative. So here's how it works. 5 points is for, you know, a thoughtful, you know, deep answer to the question. A 4 is like a good answer to the question. A 3 is kind of like a basic answer to the question. A 2 is like it was really lacking. Maybe you didn't answer the whole question, or it was like a sentence that was general. A 1 is pretty much a pity point. And a 0, if you don't get to the formative, then that's a 0. So the way that these grades show up in the grade book, I'm not going to put one in for every day. I'm going to put 2 grades in the grade book this 6 weeks. The first one will be right before progress reports. So what I'll do is the day that progress reports are due, or the day before, I'm going to drop a grade into the grade book, go to formative, and all the formatives that you've done up to that point have been giving you a percentage. I'm hoping that you can see that. Can you see that on the formative page, that percentage of the 3 that we did last week? It doesn't give you a percentage? I'll have to look in the settings and see if I can make that visible to you. But anyway, for those 5 points on each one, it's going to give a percentage. I'm going to put that in at the 6 weeks, at the progress report, as a minor grade, because you are taking time to answer those questions. I feel like most of you are giving really good, in-depth, you know, insightful answers, and I think that should count for a grade. So besides attendance, it's also going to count for a grade. At the end of the 6 weeks, because by then you've done a formative every single day, I'm going to drop another grade in and go to the percentage again, whatever your percentage is for your formatives. I'm going to drop that grade in as a major grade, because that's a lot of writing by the time we get to the end of the 6 weeks. So those formatives are counting for you. You should see your score on each one, and you should see the feedback that I'm giving you. Are you able to see that? Is anybody having trouble? You can? Okay. So I'm interacting with you there most of the time. There's a couple where I just give it the score, but for the most part, I'm trying to give you some commentary and some feedback on those. So do make sure that you keep up with them. I put them as an assignment. I started that this week. I started putting them in as an assignment because I wanted them to show up in your grid. So over here where you are looking at all of your courses, I wanted it to show up, and when you sign in the morning, you can say, oh, here's what I have to do today, and the formative will be there almost as a checklist. You don't have to do anything in the Google Classroom with that. You can just go and click done. But I'm just thinking that will help people stay organized and prioritize their assignments. So hopefully that's not too much for you to do, but I'm just thinking maybe it will give everybody an opportunity to make sure that they get those done. Any questions on formatives? No? There'll always be about what we're studying, what we're doing. For the most part, you'll be reacting to some of the readings that I'm having you do, that sort of thing. And speaking of reading, you should have read chapter 1 from the textbook. I know that we just got access to the textbook last week, and we're going to make sure everybody has access today before we go. But you should have worked through chapter 1, which was more of a basics kind of chapter, right? there's I put a link to the PDF so that you could access the book there on the PDF. But we'll make sure that you have online access to the whole book today. I sent a message, I don't know if everybody had a chance to get to it, but we did scan in chapter 1 just so that you could do your assignment for last week. Chapter 1, I think of it as kind of a pre-chapter, because chapter 1 is about skills that are helpful for us in literary study, mainly things like annotation, and I don't think that you're new to any of that stuff. So the chapter 1 activity also had you practicing your annotation, and they walk you through a couple things. I really like on this page here, this is on page 7, how they sort of modeled for you how to mark text. I think that, you know, if I take the word of the other English teachers, we've been doing this for a really long time, and you've been asked to annotate lots of things in the past, so I don't think that's anything new. The reason I like annotation for students and for myself is because I feel like it helps you really focus on the piece. And it helps you, instead of just looking at it, it helps you really interact with what the writer is doing in the passage. So we're going to be practicing that a lot, and your assignment had you doing that for chapter 1. Chapter 1 has a couple of other strategies, like a reading journal, which I haven't assigned. I have in the past, but I feel like a lot of what we're doing in the formatives is kind of like that. So I don't want to make a separate assignment for a reading journal, but that is one way that you can make sure that you're focused on your reading and getting the most out of your comprehension. They have an example of that here. In some pre-AP classes, they call this like a dialectical journal. Did anybody do any of those in your pre-AP classes? Where you choose a quotation, and then over here you kind of analyze that quotation. They're demonstrating that there in chapter 1. And then the third one that they talk about in the last one in chapter 1 is the think aloud dialogue, where you can have a collaboration with another student and you can discuss what you've read. I think this is going to be a little more challenging for us to do in this environment, but that's why I wanted to set you up with some groups. I asked yesterday if anybody wanted to sort of tell me who they would like to group up with, and I think that we'll be able to do some things like that in class sometimes, and we're going to give it a shot today. But I think these are really good strategies. Then they're trying to arm you with those strategies before we get to the literature that we're going to start reading this week. And the summer reading, right? The book that we read, How to Read Literature Like a Professor, also has some good tips and ideas about thinking analytically toward what we read. So that's just setting you up to be successful with the readings in the class. Are there any questions about chapter 1? It shouldn't have been really anything new for you. It wasn't anything, you know, earth-shatteringly, you know, cutting edge. But you should have turned in assignment number 1 for chapter 1. There was an assignment. So if you did not turn in that assignment, it's late. I'll still take it. I've already talked about that with the grading policy. So get that in as soon as possible so that I can see how you're doing with your annotation. It's sort of like my first opportunity to see how you do with that process. All right. The next thing on the list is making sure everybody has online textbook access. So I sent out a post a couple of days ago, I think it might have been Monday, and giving you some directions. There is a simpler way to sign into the book. So if you got in and you could access the book with the instructions that I had on the Google Classroom, you can see them right here. I put it on this, oh, I guess it was Friday. I put it on this Friday reminder right here. If you didn't get very far with signing in online, then you can try Clever. How many of you've used Clever before for any of your classes? Yeah, I don't think we tend to use Clever a whole lot at the secondary level, but there's a website called Clever, and the district uses it to kind of keep all your logins in one place. Like if you're logged into your Google account, you don't have to re-log into all these other, you know, resources. You can just, using your Google credentials, you can just automatically log in. So if you already had access to the book, then you're fine. But if you didn't, I want you to go to Clever right now. It looks like this. There's a link on this page right here, Clever. And you can log in here using the Google that you're already logged into. I'm going to log into my teacher account right here. And so you'll see that it's just got a bunch of icons and a bunch of icons for different resources that the district subscribes to. What you're looking for is, I think it's this one, Launchpad. It's got like some wavy lines. Mr. Ramos says they look like the ocean. I say they look like birds in the sky, but it's interpretation, right? So if you click on that one, you should have access to the book through there as well. Over here, it will tell you this is the course that you're automatically enrolled in the course when you click there. So you can just click, I've read and agreed to the terms, and then there's like a enter. So when I make the assignments from chapter 2 for this week, you'll use this online book. If you're struggling to get access to it, or if you would just prefer to have your own copy of the book, we do have copies of the textbook at school. You can just, go by over there and tell them that you need the book. There's a picture of it in the chapter 1 stuff, the chapter 1 slideshow. This one, this is what the cover of it looks like.
Miss, are you sure they have it? Because when I went to go pick up the book, they gave me a different one.
Well, we've been having some trouble with the book distribution where they give you, they've been giving people in dual this book, and they've been giving people in this class the dual book. What does it look like? Is it like red on the cover? Yeah, that's the dual book. You need this book. Yeah, we've been running into that trouble. Mr. Ramos and I both, we called up to school yesterday to see if they could straighten it out. But if you want, I can make a PDF in the meantime and make it available to you just for chapter 2, just for this week, so that you don't have to wait.
I just logged into Launchpad and I had the access to the book.
Yeah, there's some people who might want to read offline, like you might want to not be on the screen so much. So if you're one of those people, you can definitely go and pick up a textbook, but it's not required. If you have online access, it has everything that I'm going to ask you to do in the online book. So it's kind of your choice. Or you could get a book and do both. But I don't know. By the end of the day, my eyes are tired and I have a headache. So I'd rather just look at paper than a screen. Maybe it doesn't matter to you guys. I don't know. But you can get a hard copy. They gave you the wrong one. So you can just return that probably. And
if we want to get a hard copy, can we call the school in advance and let them know that we're going so that they have it right now?
Okay. Yeah, but just make sure they give you that one with the tree on the front, the tree house on the front. Yeah, it's a hardbound book. It's like this. I have a copy right here. So, like it's one of those traditional textbook type things. I think sometimes they just see English 4 or they see Mrs. Ramos on your schedule and they just give, but they're 2 different classes. Dual and AP are completely different classes. So you have to have the right book. The pages won't match up between the 2 books at all. So yeah, try to get in through Clever. If that doesn't work for you and you don't want to go get a book, then let me know so I can work on making sure you have access to the book in some way to do your assignments. All right. Let's see what is next. Intro to this week's topic. So this week we're going to be working with chapter 2, and chapter 2 has a number of different sections to it. And the 2 sections we're looking at this week are on character and setting. So I was thinking that what we might do is a little bit of an activity to practice that leading into the week's assignments on character and setting. So I have you set up in some groups. Can you see here where it says group activity? How setting affects character. As a way to kind of preview this week's material, I would like for you to, well, I'm going to click on it so I can tell you about it, but your copy is in Google Classroom. So I'm going to put you in some groups. We'll see how that goes. I did take into consideration those of you who messaged me about which people you would like to work with. I did make the groups based on those suggestions. So you should find some people in your group that you mentioned in your list. And I want you to go and grab your own copy. This is my copy, so don't write on this one. Go into Google Classroom and get your copy. You should have one. And share it with your group members. And what I did was I put a little passage on slide 2, and this is from Great Expectations, just a little paragraph. But it really is a good example of how setting or the location of a piece of literature really helps us understand a character. So your job, I'm going to give you about 20 minutes or so to read the passage together. Once you choose one of you to go and get it from the Google Classroom and then share that one document with the other people in your group. And what I want you to do is together annotate on here. Now you can highlight if you want to and change the colors of things. You can highlight things that you want to note, things like that. You can add text boxes, but I should see all the people in your group kind of contributing ideas. And the goal here is to annotate with comments about how the description of the setting characterizes Mr. Jaggers. It's a description of his office. And so it's going to describe his office. He's not in it, but the way that he has his office and the environment of his office characterizes him. So you have some time to work with your partners and, kind of make some notes together, talking about the passage after you read it. All your instructions are right here. And then comment on how the setting causes the narrator and the reader to feel. So make sure that you're contributing. When I look at the document, whoever document it is that goes and grabs it can also submit it on Google Classroom. And, but everybody should have participated in annotating. So the grade for this doesn't come from just the final product, but that you contributed to that final product, if that makes sense. So you don't get to just turn off your camera and go get a sandwich. Try to participate with your classmates. All right. Questions about what we're going to do right now before I send you to your groups? All right, when you get in your groups, send one person to go and get the document and then share it with the rest of you. And I'll pop into the groups in a few minutes and see how you're doing, okay? All right, let's see how this goes. Breakout rooms. I put everybody in a room already. I put everybody in a room, but it's not letting me select. That's weird. Let me try again. Sorry, we're all on a learning curve with this stuff. Man, I spent like an hour making all those rooms. All right, I'm gonna have to do it by hand, I guess. All right. Should pop up on the screen for you to join your group. Sorry. Let me try this again. Can, finish up your final notes or whatever in the next little bit. And as long as it gets submitted, probably whoever owns the document is the one who has to submit it. So you can just submit it on Google Classroom. If you don't submit on Google Classroom, I'll know that you are one of the participants on somebody else's document. So it might be good to make sure. I'm pretty sure that Google will let me know who did what on the document, but you might want to put the names on it. Renee?
I think they can just make a copy of the file and then they could turn it in themselves.
Oh, okay. Either way.
That way everyone turns one in and there's no confusion, I think.
Okay. Either way, it works fine. Did you want to say hello?
I know somebody.
Somebody wants to say hi to you.
Hi.
Hi.
They're all saying hi to you.
Hi, Haley.
Did you finish your class early or what?
Hi there. Reno. What do you mean finish early? You were keeping them
Hello.
late.
No, I'm not keeping them late.
Yeah, they're supposed to be done at 2:30. What time is it?
It's only 2:26.
Oh, well, then I guess I did finish a little early.
Well,
Hello, Francis. I saw Francis.
let me
Haley,
wrap
who's
up.
that bald-headed bearded girl?
Drake,
It's Drake.
apparently.
He's messed
I don't
It's-
know. It's messed up. Drake.
It's anime Drake.
It's anime Drake. All right, yeah, so get those turned in to me and I'll have a look at them. That was a way to introduce this week's topic. So let me just go through this week's tasks and then we'll be done for today. So if you go back to our weekly plan, you can see that there's a formative for today. So do make sure you do that. There is not another one this week. That's the only one that we have. Also, you need to go to AP Classroom and sign up to be in our AP Classroom. That's where we do a lot of our practices and things like that for the AP exam. So I put the directions here. I think it's pretty straightforward, but if you have trouble, just message me and I'll give you a hand. Also, Mrs. Sid wants you to complete the commitment form to take your AP exam, and it's on this document. It's like a Google form. It's super easy to fill out. So those are 2 of your tasks for this week. They should take 10 minutes combined. Then I want you to look at some sections of chapter 2. I made another slideshow guide for you to go through with chapter 2. Chapter 2 has a lot of sections to it, but we're going to focus on just the character and setting part. Today was kind of like, let's talk about character and setting as a way to whet our appetite for this week. I put a little tutorial about the textbook in case you need to orient yourself to where you can actually find the book. So in the slideshow for chapter 2, there's some, little guidelines for that in case you need help with that. And then if you just go through the slides, you'll see that there are some directions like what to read and then what to take notes on over here for character. Then same thing with setting. And then there is an assignment for plot and setting, not plot, character and setting. I have to change that. So this one has a drag and drop feature. I don't know if you can see that, but it's going to be a drag and drop. And I made a tutorial in case you need some help with manipulating the document in that way. All right. That's pretty much it. That one's due on Saturday. And oh, there's a little blurb to read. There's a little passage to read in the book for class on Monday. We're going to use that together in class on Monday. But I feel like the tasks are pretty straightforward this week. Are there any questions? Remember that I have the class video archive here, and it's also linked on that pinned post in Google Classroom. So if you need to go back and watch any instructions or go through class video, then you can do that. But also feel free to contact me if anything comes up. especially if you have trouble getting onto the AP Central, I mean the AP Classroom or the textbook, because you can't really do some of these things this week without the textbook. Whoa, that's not better. Okay, she changed her picture from Drake to I don't even know what that is. All right, any questions before I sign off for today? I think y'all did some good work. I want to see what you did in your groups, so I'm anxious to see how that went. All right, we'll call it a day then. Hopefully you can have a good rest of the week with your asynchronous work, and reach out if you have questions, and have a good rest of the day. All right, good job, guys. See you on Monday.
Bye, Miss. Have a good day.
Bye.
Miss, I tried to sign on to AP Central for history, but it wasn't letting me. It kept on saying temporarily closed.
Well, try it for English with the code that's there, and let me know if it still says that, because it could be your account or it could be just the history one.
Okay.
Let me know.
Miss, I have a
Okay.
question.
Sure.
For formative, I forgot to submit one of the little like one of the little questions last week. I think it was
Okay.
on September 2nd.
Okay.
Can I still like
Wednesday?
submit it like late? Yes.
Well, it closes, so go to formative and figure out which day it is, and then email me and I'll open it for you so
Okay.
that you can do it. So I know which
Thank
day
you.
it is to go to. Yeah.
Okay. Thank
No
you.
problem.